You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. The interview subject I've got coming up for you. He's part of our cavalcade of legends. We have so many of them on the podcast series. And Scott Gorham from Thin Lizzy and the Black Star Riders absolutely qualifies. Wow. I never thought I'd be able to talk to a member of Thin Lizzy, but here we go. But even better, I can talk to him about his wonderful new album for 2019 with the Black Star Riders. It's called Another State of Grace. It's a cracking affair, probably the best sounding album, the best production I've heard in years on an album, I must say. I wish so many younger deathcore and metalcore albums would take a leaf out of this band's book because, my God, you can hear everything on this album and it is all good. So that's the reason for the chat. Let's get to it. Here he is, the legendary Scott Gorham. Smith calling. How are you?
Good, Andy. Hey, have we talked before?
We haven't, but I've got to tell you, I'm so thrilled that I am talking to you now. But tell me, what did my name ring a bell? Did it when you saw it on the
Scars and Guitars?
Yeah. I've got a podcast series, you see, so I've interviewed over 400 people at this point, and most of them have gone on to the podcast series, and I've been pretty prolific over the last 3 years. It's been my passionate hobby, if you like, because of course there's no money in this, and I wish there was. Otherwise I'd do it full time.
Yeah, no kidding.
But no, man, I'm actually really flattered that you recognise something in the name. So thank you.
Yeah, as soon as I saw the Scars and Guitars, I thought, God damn, have I talked with Andy before? So anyway. No matter. I'm glad to be talking with you right now.
No, it's a thrill to be talking to you. I mean, look, John has definitely given us a heads up. We're here to talk about Black Star Riders, but I'm sure, like so many people have alluded to through the night, man, we love your guitar playing here. We love your guitar playing in Thin Lizzy and everything that you've ever done, man. You're a legend. And just before we got onto the call, I was looking at that wonderful gig that you did in Sydney Opera House in 1978.
Really, man?
Oh, man,
that was amazing because they're really probably maximum. There was only supposed to be like 5,000 people that were going to show up, and it's why the mayor and the city fathers and all that of Sydney kind of gave us the green light because they were really protective of the Sydney Opera House. I mean, it's your Taj Mahal, for God's sakes. When you see the Sydney Opera House, you know exactly what you're looking at, right? So. And then all of a sudden, I was just talking to somebody earlier on, and I said, yeah, I think there was 40 to 60,000. And he went, no, I think it was more like 100,000 people showed up. Right?
Yeah.
So that was amazing. It was actually a really amazing gig. It's one of those highlight reels in your head that you're not going to ever forget. So very cool.
Yeah, you do. It's one of those gigs that you look at because there's heaps of concert footage online these days from the 60s, 70s and 80s on YouTube and on Vimeo. But that's one of those ones that I find myself going back to repeatedly. There's a few out there. There's some early Ozzy Osbourne gigs and some Led Zeppelin stuff. But, of course, for Thin Lizzy, I actually think that's my favourite, not just because I'm Australian am I saying this. I think that's one of my favourite live things that I've ever seen. And it just happens to be at the Opera House.
Wow, thank you so much, man.
I mean, it's just...
so you can imagine being on the stage when that was going on. Just looking at all those people, the amazing that you got the Opera House sitting right in front of you. The Iron Bridge, the river, it's just like, wow, does it get any better than this? It's very cool. Look, well, I'm glad you like it, man. I really appreciate that.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Yeah, really. It's one of those things. I mean, I think you are a legend on the guitar, okay? I guess I'll start by saying that. And I never felt as though you got the due that you deserve, to be quite frank. You on that gig that we're talking about, you stood alongside the great Gary Moore, but I just, you're one of the real originals, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, of heavy metal guitar, because that's what I've always considered you. And I know there's a lot of other blues rock, there's a lot of other things going on in there, mate, but you're one of those guys that when I get into eighth beer discussions and debates like we tend to as rock fans, I often say, if it wasn't for Scotty Gorham, I don't think we'd have heavy metal sounding the way it does right now. Do you understand? Understand what I mean when I say that?
Yeah, kind of. But the way I look at it is, If I'm not thought of in the same vein as other guitar players, I'm okay with that. My main objective always is I always just wanted to be in a really fucking cool band. That was my whole thing. If I get some notoriety along the way, great. But it's the band that makes the difference. The vehicle. It would be terrible if you would have spent 20 years in a band and everybody went, yeah, you guys are okay. Actually, you guys were kind of shit.
Yeah.
Right?
That happens a lot these days, to be honest, not with you guys.
To be able to talk to... What's that?
That happens a lot these days, to be quite honest with you. There's this retelling of history and reinvention of history at times, I think. Sorry, I've interrupted you, and I apologise for that. But, yeah, I just think...
That's okay. So that's really been kind of my big objective all along was, everything that I get in, I just want it to be really fucking cool. So, people... I don't want to have people come back later on going, yeah, that thing you did, it was really shit, man. Why did you even do that? So I try to pick some cool stuff, when I'm doing. But thank you so much, Andy. I really appreciate that.
Look, it's my pleasure, and the praise is going to continue because, look, I genuinely, truly, no bullshit, really enjoy Another State of Grace. So I've had it ever since Nuclear Blast released it on the promo stuff that we get as journos. Right. So I've been listening to that for a couple of days, man. I had it on today in the background when I was at uni. I'm a mature age student back at uni, and I listened to music in the background, and that's what I listened to today quite a few times. And
cool, man.
Here's the thing that really stuck out for me, okay, is like modern production techniques, they compress the living daylights out of everything. Okay, a lot of these modern deathcore, metalcore, death metal bands, what have you, they're great players, but they don't know how to make a recording come to life. You do. And I reckon this album here is the best sounding album I've heard in bloody years. So that'll be my first question. Yeah, you're right. Over to you.
No, thank you so much for that. And I've had, several people say the exact same thing. I think a lot of that, or at least some of it, is down to Jay Rushton. He's one of those kind of producers that doesn't like exactly what you were talking about. With some of the metal bands and all that, and it's the same really with, Ricky and everybody in the band. Everybody wants air,
yes,
space to breathe. You don't need it so claustrophobic in there. But yeah, and if I'm being straight up honest with you, and I have no idea how we got that sound. It's just, I think it's. Kind of a combination of a lot of things. It's the guys who are in the band now, the way they want to be perceived. Myself and Jay Rushton, the producer. I think it's that combination all together that kind of produces that sound that you are talking about. But wow, once again, thank you so much for that. It's so cool to hear that from you.
Oh, I don't know how many. I reckon I get. I'm going to hazard a guess here, between 5 and 10 new releases a week to sink my teeth into. So I get across...
How many?
About 5 to 10 a week.
Okay.
Maybe even more. Maybe even more. Yeah, that's just what I listen to be honest. I probably get more that I just don't even see because it goes into junk or somewhere else in my inbox or what have you. But I get so many releases and I listen to a lot, and I always hear great musicianship. Not always, but most of the time hear great musicianship, pretty good songwriting, but rarely do I hear all three, which is what Black Star Riders do, what you do.
Wow.
And
thank you again for that. That's you can't hear things like that enough as a musician because we're all pretty insecure anyway. I mean, on the outside it looks like we're all bravado and all that, but inside a lot of us are just shaking away. They're going, "Oh God, I hope somebody likes this." You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's but there's what is there collectively? I mean, I'm not asking you the question directly here, but God, there must be well over a century or more, far more of collective experience in the band right about now, and it shows. And
yeah, there is. I mean, we're not kids. I'll be the first one to admit that. I'm the oldest guy in the band, but all these other guys, Ricky, Robbie, Chad, what's his name?
The bassist. There you go. The bass player.
Christian.
There we go.
But all these guys come from pretty heavy backgrounds. Everybody's been at this for a long time, and it kind of you kind of take all these paths in life until you all finally meet together, and it all kind of works for you, So it's almost like I hate to use this word, but it almost feels like fate a little bit that we all finally found ourselves in this position where we could actually write and play and tour together and all that. So it's a really cool spot to be in right now,
Yeah, sweet.
And I'm so glad there's people like you out there that are kind of recognizing this to a certain degree. So it makes it feel like a lot of this hard work is all worth it. If you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. I understand that. And one of the questions I'm going to ask later, but just to dovetail into your point there, I'm going to ask you now because, mate, you have achieved a lot. Make no mistake, you're one of the preeminent guitarists in rock, heavy metal, whatever genre you want to apply to the wonderful music that you've created over the last 40 plus 50 years or whatever it's been.
Yeah, that makes my back hurt even thinking about those numbers.
But the thing is, my point is here is that you could rest on your laurels, but of course you don't. Okay, you are working hard. So what's driving you?
Wow, that's a really great question. You know something? It's just the pure fact that I can still do this. I know there's probably there's so many musicians out there who would kill to be in the position that I'm in right now, and to just kind of be all blasé about it. Oh yeah, it's what I do is really the wrong attitude to take, because at some point it's going to be taken away from you. You know that in the back of your mind, it's going to be taken away from you. So you really want to get out there and try to make the mark and make the most of what time you got. You make the most of it. I love being out on the road. Meeting the different fans from the different countries and all that. The traveling part of it. Yeah, it's a little tough right now on everybody just because of the security bullshit that you got to go through in airports and all that. That can be very testing, shall I say?
Yeah.
But when you've got your group of guys and you love these guys, you trust them, which is a big part of being in a band. You got to be able to trust the guy that's standing to your right, your left, and when you do trust them, you walk out on that stage. You got tons of confidence. Pretty much knowing you're going to pull it off because you really worked hard on this shit. So
yeah.
So that's what kind of keeps me going is. Just, it's almost like being in the Army. You know that these guys have your life in their hands and vice versa. Although we're not actually dying up there, but, your careers and all that. You're trusting everybody with it and all that. But it's just great fun is what it is.
It looks like it.
What job can you get where at the end of 3 or 4 minutes, people get up and they applaud you. An accountant doesn't get that, or the bank guy doesn't get that.
Yeah,
it's a rush. God damn. I'll admit it. It's a rush, and I love it. I love playing.
Yeah, good on you, mate. No, that's so great to hear. Yeah, God. Yeah, it's and I the enthusiasm I can hear in your voice, like it's so genuine and so real. But it's so thrilling to hear that with all of these years in the music industry, and let's face it, it's a bloody hard industry to be in business-wise, not performance-wise, but business-wise. You know what I mean? A lot of people come out the other side of it over 50 and they're jaded, they hate it, or they have what poor old Bob Daisley's going through these days as bloody Sharon Osbourne, if you don't mind me bringing that up, where you do all this work.
What's going on there? Is that with the writing credits and all that?
Yeah, but Sharon's come out and, I mean, she could just let the water settle and maybe just pay him out a settlement or what have you, but she's come out in the media again saying that he didn't do, I'm going to paraphrase it here, I'm not quoting it directly, of course, but basically his work and his contribution to the Aussie legacy is completely overstated. That was what she was getting at, that Ozzy did all of this work, and it's like, without him, he wouldn't have a career post-Black Sabbath.
Yeah, no kidding. And it's not like Ozzy hasn't made enough fucking cash where he can, throw a few bones to Bob, for God's sakes. It's not going to do anything to their bank account.
No, it's just...
And it kind of makes Ozzy look bad at the same time.
I don't know why he doesn't say something. I mean, I know he's taken a heap of drugs and was an alcoholic or whatever he was. He's drank a lot. His brain's probably fried, but he'd know which people did what back in the day, surely. I mean, Bob and Lee Kerslake. Lee Kerslake's only got a couple of months to live, I understand. I mean, these guys are legends to us. I'm a musician. I'm a bass player and guitarist, and
Give credit where credit's due, I say. You know? You can't do this shit on your own. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, Ed Sheeran, okay, there's one that can do it on his own. But for the most part, you're in a rock band, and it's a collective experience. You know, you're all in this together. You know, and it's why these records and these albums and these songs come out so great, because you've all worked on them together. You know, to make them that way. So to not recognize somebody that should be recognized is really kind of almost criminal in a way, you know. So
the fans see through
I know Bobby, and he's a great guy. He and I used to hang out a lot in London, and god damn did we laugh. Fuck's sake, the guy's got a great sense of humor.
Yeah, I've heard that from a few people. I've spoken to Zach Wilde about him, and he said the same thing, that in the studio you just laugh with Bob Daisley. And I've spoken.
He just has that sense of humor. After a while, you go, Bob, shut the fuck up. My face and my stomach are hurting from laughing so much. You know.
You know, he's a generous guy too. Back in the day, I reached out to him for bass lessons, and he got back to me via email and said, "I can't do them, but how about I give you a few phone calls and we talk about what you're doing with your music." And God help him, he called me many times just to have a chat to me. He called me over a 6-month period back about 16 years ago. Just little old me and nobody, you know, and just decided that, you know, fellow Aussie, you know how it is, you know, just to have a chat. And we talked about bass playing and music, and I really appreciated that, man, I can tell you.
Yeah, Bob's just a regular guy, you know. As with most people I've met in this business, they're just regular guys, you know. You just happen to be in a spotlight, you know, and on a stage somewhere. But you come off that stage, and you're just a regular guy, you know, and that's what Bob is. He's just good people. So, yeah, it's a shame to see that silly little argument is being dragged on and on, you know. So, yeah, what can you do?
Yeah, what can you do, mate? Yeah, no, that's right. Mate, I think I've only got a one or two more questions left. Have you got another call coming through after me in about 4 minutes?
Oh, yeah, I've got another 5 or 6.
Oh, bummer. All right.
And I hate to keep rushing people, but, you know, they put me on this schedule here, and it makes me sound like a real prick, you know, but
you're right.
I know these people they're lined up to talk, so I'll apologize to you.
Mate, I tell you, you were a very popular interview subject when it came out. There was a lot of interest in it, so just take that. I mean, you're very popular in Australia. I hope you know that, and I hope the statistics reflect that.
Well, and you know something, we really desperately want to get over to Australia. As the schedules come in, it's not there yet. So, and that's a little I'm a little concerned about that. The last time that Ricky and I, especially, were in Australia was the KISS tour, and I'm thinking, that's like 6-7 years ago now. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, got 13.
And that's just way too long to be away from Australia, because once it seems like any band that goes to Australia, they run into this great rock crowd. How can you say that you're on a world tour and you don't go to Australia? If you don't go to Australia, you haven't been on a world tour. That's flat.
Good
I mean,
on you,
that's
mate.
just all there is to it, you know.
Yeah.
But once you get there, it's the rock fans that you play to. It's a really knowledgeable crowd. You know, they know what you're all about. They know the songs, but it's just getting there, you know. So hopefully with your help and a couple of the other people's help, we'll be able to drum up the enthusiasm. We'll get over there as fast as we can.
Yeah, well, definitely spread the word this time around. I think you've already mentioned it, mate. If you've got 5 or 6 after me, mate, you probably have 5 or 6 before me, mate. There's plenty of people that wanted to talk to you. So, you know, decent media outlets too, with broad reach into the market as well. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of people will be reading about this in the next 2 or 3 days or so, which is awesome, mate.
Cool.
So that'll drive a bit of interest through the promoters who'll no doubt reach out to your agent or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You know? Cool.
Great.
I better let you go, mate. It's a shame, mate. I'd love to chat to you again, and no doubt we will if there's a tour that's announced from the next album cycle, but it's a real thrill to talk to you, mate. Just congratulations on everything, mate, you know?
Well, it's, you know, something, and it's been a real pleasure talking with you. I hope everybody's as pleasurable as you are to do these interviews with. You've made this 20, 25 minutes go pretty quick here, so...
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
No, it's my pleasure, mate. No worries. All the best with everything, and good luck.
Thank you. I will see you when we finally get over there, huh?
Absolutely, mate. Love to catch up.
Okay. Have a great
Thanks,
one.
mate. You too. Catch
See
you.
Bye.
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 You've been listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast series that syndicates for the A-List Online, and my name is Andrew Mackay-Smith. That interview's subject was the very legendary Scott Gorham from the outfits Black Star Riders and Thin Lizzy. Thanks so much for listening.